Her sister's voice cut through the reception hall. She's always been good at staying out of the way. Laughter followed, but no one saw the look in Savannah's eyes. They didn't know she was the one signing the CEO's paycheck, and that he'd be walking through those doors any minute. What would you have done in her place? I'm seated in the last row, close enough to the catering station to smell the wine being poured far enough from the altar to be a shadow in the photographs. The clink of glasses and the faint hiss of uncorked bottles drift over the music from the string quartet, a polite and polished soundtrack to someone else's perfect evening. My seat is so far from the aisle I could vanish without a trace, and no one would notice until the cake was gone. Rows ahead, the guests lean in toward the bride, their laughter cresting with every comment. I recognize only a handful of faces, distant relatives, a couple of neighbors from our childhood street, but most are Harper's people. Her work friends, her future in-laws, and the ones who've been orbiting her since college like a carefully curated constellation. I'd arrived early, hoping to take in the view of the vineyard under the October sun, but the usher's tight smile and right this way had me weaving between already filled rows until I reached the fringe. The scent of ripe grapes hung in the air, thick with the golden light of late afternoon. Harvest season in Napa had always been my favorite when the vines are heavy, the air warm but edged with a promise of colder nights. Here, though, the perfection is staged, a white floral arch glows in the waning light chairs draped in silk, a carpeted aisle leading to Harper like an arrow. From here, my parents are just silhouettes, but I can tell by the tilt of their heads that their attention belongs entirely to her. When I approached them earlier, my mother's gaze flicked over my dress and she said, "That's nice, dear. You look comfortable." My father added, "Don't wander too far. We wouldn't want to lose you in the crowd chuckling as though it were harmless." They turned back to Harper before my smile could fade. Harper is magnetic tonight. She stands under the arch hair in glossy waves, every movement choreographed for the photographers. The lace on her gown catches the light, and she beams at her groom like he's the only man who's ever existed. She's been center stage her whole life. I know the rhythm of this dance. Harper speaks, people listen. Harper wants, people bend. As I watch her laugh with the maid of honor, my phone buzzes in my clutch. A single glance at the screen shows a name that doesn't belong at a wedding guest list, one that would draw stares if anyone saw it. I swipe the notification away before it can tempt me, tucking the secret back into its place. It's not the first time I've kept things to myself. In 2016, the year I registered my first LLC, I'd been sitting at this same family table at Thanksgiving. The talk then was about Harper's promotion, her boss's praise, and how Savannah will find her path someday. My path was already being built brick by brick, code by code, deal by deal, but in their eyes, invisible. The officiant's voice fades into the background as Harper takes the microphone for her speech. She thanks the guests for coming, praises the bridesmaids for being stunning as always, and makes a lighthearted comment about the groom's inability to cook. Her delivery is flawless, the timing impeccable. Then she turns her gaze, sweeping the crowd until it lands on me. And my little sister, Savannah. Her smile widens, the kind that makes you think you're about to be included finally. She's always been so good at holding coats and staying out of the way. Laughter ripples through the chairs, full-bodied and unrestrained. Someone whistles. Even my father smirks, shaking his head like it's the truest thing he's ever heard. I feel the heat crawl up my neck, but my expression doesn't change. I tighten my grip on the champagne flute until my knuckles turn white. I smile. They'll stop laughing soon. They think I live an ordinary life, clocking in somewhere small. They never wonder about the numbers I move or the decisions I make that ripple through markets. Around me, the wedding reception hums laughter, spilling over wine glasses, chairs, scraping on polished wood, the string quartet replaced by a playlist of upbeat pop. Harper's co-workers cluster near the bar, raising flutes in her honor. They'll stop laughing soon. The thought threads through me again, not as anger, but as quiet certainty. At a nearby table, someone calls Harper a visionary leader. Another praises her groundbreaking campaign, the one I know she lifted from a vendor's proposal word for word. Their admiration rolls past me like background music. A clink of silverware against glass, and the groom makes a toast. I let the moment fade into a different kind of room entirely. 2016, a downtown office with blinds drawn a stack of incorporation documents in front of me. I signed them under the umbrella of a special purpose vehicle, a corporate shell meant to protect not just my assets, but my anonymity. The NDAs were airtight. No one outside that room knew who sat at the head of the table. 3 years later, the Series A funding closed in a boardroom smelling of fresh paint and ambition. My analytics team was small but lethal statisticians, engineers, market modelers who could read human behavior like sheet music. By 2022, the acquisition papers were signed. I held the majority stake in the very company Harper had built her title in. She never asked who the new majority owner was. In her world, the optics mattered more than the infrastructure. In mine, the infrastructure was everything. And it was from that vantage point I first heard about the junior marketing associate fresh out of grad school, quick on her feet, and already targeted by Harper for elimination. The official reason was team downsizing. The unofficial one, the junior had outshined Harper in a client meeting. I sent an email through the HR liaison, unsigned but decisive position, retained reassignment to a project under my direct authority. The wedding noise swells and the memory shifts again, this time to a call last spring. Ethan Cole's voice had been low but edged with satisfaction. Your attribution model pivot saved the quarter. You have a knack for being invisible until it counts. I'd smiled into the empty office, knowing invisibility was my strongest currency. Back in the present, I swirl the champagne in my glass, watching the bubbles rise like the stock tickers I check before dawn. A server stops at my table, a young man with bright eyes and a quick, nervous breath. He leans in slightly. You don't know me, but thank you. And before I can reply, he's gone, swallowed by the crowd. The doors at the far end of the hall swing open. Light floods in, and a tall figure steps inside. All conversation stalls as he walks in. Not the groom, but a man whose presence bends the air around him. The soft hum of voices that had filled the hall moments ago drops to a kind of charged silence, the only sound the faint clink of a spoon against porcelain somewhere near the dessert table. Harper notices him almost instantly. Her spine straightens shoulders, pulling back in a posture she's perfected for cameras and executives alike. I watch her smooth a hand over her hair, a calculated move to signal effortless composure. Oh my God, she breathes to the bridesmaid nearest her, just loud enough for me to hear, "That's my boss." The words carry a shimmer of anticipation. This is her moment, or so she thinks. Ethan Cole steps through the doorway, his navy suit catching the warm glow of the string lights. There's something deliberate about his stride, a quiet economy of movement that draws eyes without demanding them. Harper steps forward into his path, smile already set, but he doesn't break pace. He doesn't even glance in her direction. Instead, he comes straight to my table. Savannah. His voice is warm, familiar. Wasn't expecting to see you here, boss. The pause after the word is not accidental. It's an acknowledgement not just of rank, but of history. A half-dozen faces in the nearest cluster of guests turn toward us, brows lifting. I meet his gaze without rising. Ethan, I say, letting his name sit in the air as though this is a normal reception greeting. Glad you could make it. Your call on Morgan's integration is paying off already. We'll finalize on Monday. The reference is subtle, but those who understand the weight of Morgan's integration, a merger months in negotiation, will hear the significance. A ripple moves through the guests, low murmurs trading between tables. Somewhere behind Ethan's shoulder, Harper freezes mid-step, her champagne flute suspended near her lips. She tries to interject, her voice a little higher than before. We were just talking about the campaign I led, for Ethan turns his head politely toward her, but the nod he offers is brief, perfunctory. Of course. Good to see you. He says, the tone used for someone you've met once at a conference. Then his focus is back on me. We speak for another minute, surface-level details for the room's benefit, but underpinned by a quiet shorthand we've built over years. I thank him for stopping by. He assures me he'll send the updated documents tonight. When he finally steps away, the space he leaves behind feels altered. The laughter that had once filled the corners has thinned into a different kind of noise. Whispers, side eyes, quick recalculations. The word boss lingers in the air like a note that refuses to fade. I take a slow sip of champagne. This is going to be fun. I set my glass down and rise. They think I'm heading for the exit. They're wrong. The room tilts toward me in increments, the hush that follows a drop note, the weight of eyes turning. The back row that swallowed me earlier is behind me now. Carpet yields under my heels as I walk the aisle I was never meant to take. Warm spotlights pool at the head table, glinting off gilt-edged place cards and the curved rims of champagne flutes. Ethan stands a few steps away, hands clasped, watchful, without being intrusive, the kind of presence that steadies a shifting floor. Harper sees me coming and pastes on a smile that shows every tooth. She angles her body toward the crowd as if to frame me within her tableau, magnanimous bride indulging a difficult sister. Well, Sav here to toast me. She chirps, bright as crystal. Not exactly. Just a brief announcement. My voice carries easily. The mic is unnecessary. The closest guests roll their shoulders forward, seeking a cleaner line of sight. Farther back, chairs creak the room, adjusting its posture. Her lashes lower a fraction. 8 years, and you only show up to rain on my day. The sweetness is thinning. I can hear the steel beneath it. 8 years of watching and building. I don't look at her audience, and I don't look at my parents. I look at Harper the way you study a problem you've already solved. Still bitter you couldn't keep up in high school. She lets out a little laugh designed to cue the room a soundbite with old dust on it. I set a manila envelope on the linen in front of her and slide it 2 inches forward. Performance review, duplicate proposals, ethics audit. HR and legal have cleared the decision. The flap is unsealed. It doesn't need to be open to do its work. The paper hums with the kind of authority that makes even confident people check their footing. Her gaze flicks to the envelope, then to Ethan, then back to me. A muscle jumps in her jaw. This is ridiculous, she says to no one in particular, but loud enough for everyone. We all borrow ideas, branding is iterative. That vendor's concept was rudimentary. My version was market-ready. You renamed it, I say, tone neutral. You removed the sourcing footnotes and pushed it through procurement as original. That's not iteration. That's erasure. The review panel agreed. Review panel. She pins Ethan with a smile that shows strain at the edges. Ethan, surely you're not indulging this performance. It's my wedding. He stays composed, neither stepping forward nor retreating a quiet metronome in a room that keeps wanting to rush. We brought concerns to HR, he says evenly, but he doesn't take the spotlight. He leaves it with me. Harper faces the crowd again, seeking favorable faces like a politician reading a room. Savannah has always had a flair for dramatics, she tells them, which would be funny if anyone in the hall believed I've ever been dramatic. She's been out of the loop, that's all. You've lived in the loop, I say, so long you thought it was the entire map. I keep my hands visible and still. No grand gestures, no gloating. The power is in what's unspoken, Ethan's proximity. The silence of my parents. The envelope that is not moving. From the periphery, I feel the room's math realigning people, recalculating what they think they know and what it's now worth. I hear a glass set down too quickly, a small clatter that tightens the air. My mother shifts in her chair. My father's smirk has drained away into a line. I let the pause ripen. Then I deliver it clean without heat. Starting next month, you'll be leading the Tucson branch. Smaller team, less spotlight, more time to reflect. Her head jerks as if the word Tucson has a physical edge. This is personal. No, it's governance. The distinction lands. It matters. This isn't revenge, it's administration. It's what boards do when patterns become liabilities. Ethan's voice follows, measured as a signature line. The board approved last week. He doesn't elaborate. He doesn't need to. For a moment, Harper just stands there, fingers denting the stem of her flute. Then she tries on several expressions in quick succession, surprise magnanimity, offended dignity, before settling on something like disbelief. You can't exile me in the middle of my wedding. She says softer, as if appealing to a private version of me that used to live under her shadow. I'm not exiling you, I say. I'm moving you to a role that fits the record. It buys you time to course correct. It buys the firm integrity. She leans in by a degree, mascaraed lashes lowering. You always envied me, she whispers. Say it. You envied the rooms that opened for me. I bought the building. I reply, still quiet. It's not a flourish, it's a fact. You can keep the rooms. A couple at the next table tries to pretend they're not listening. The maid of honor has stopped mid-text. Someone near the bar who'd laughed too loudly earlier is studying the floor. The quartet, sensing the tempo, doesn't resume. Even the lights feel steadier, like the system has found a new frequency. Harper touches the envelope as if it might sting. This is a scare tactic, she says, but the sentence lacks oxygen. You can't just— The audit is detailed, I say. It shows timelines. It shows procurement paths. HR notes reflect the junior associate's reassignment recommendation. I don't look toward the woman who owes her job to that memo. Anonymity is a gift, too. Harper's smile returns brittle. You want to humiliate me? I want you to stop lying to yourself, I say. And that's the first line that has any temperature in it. You're good at many things. Risk isn't one of them. She turns to Ethan again. The plea sharpened now. You're really letting this stand on my wedding day? Ethan doesn't blink. It has stood since last week, he says. Today is when you're hearing it. The room inhales one of those collective breaths that smooths edges. I can almost feel the shift underfoot as understanding spreads, unbeautiful but precise. Plates settle, postures adjust. And when I turn away from the head table, I do not look for my old place at the back. I do not need to look at all. A ripple passes through the guests, not shock anymore, but recognition. The laughter is gone. The music pounds too brightly against the sudden hush. I leave the envelope on the table turn and walk without hurry. Eyes follow chairs shift, but no one stops me. My parents stay seated. My mother's hand tense on the chair, my father's smirk gone. Behind me, Harper grabs our mother, voice sharp. They can't just move me. I'll call legal. Mother heads to Ethan, but his reply is calm and final. It's all within policy, Mrs. Blake. Guests glance between us. Some nod as I pass. Others look away. The back row chair they gave me earlier sits near the service station. I don't look at it. Harper works the room in fragments, whispering to groomsmen, bridesmaids, searching for an ally. None commit. Across the floor, the junior employee meets my eyes. Her nod is small but certain. I keep moving through the shifting pockets of conversation and sidelong looks. Behind my mother murmurs empty assurances to Harper. My father studies the envelope. The air has changed. The party is polite, but its warmth is gone. Someone says clearly, always knew she was the smart one. I reach the side door, push it open, and the night air rushes in, cool, certain, free. A week later, I'm in the boardroom, the head chair pulled out and waiting for me. Morning light spills across the glass table, refracting off the skyline beyond. The hum of the city below is faint here, a reminder that most noise is only background if you decide it is. Ethan steps in a folder under his arm. Harper resigned, he says, tone even. Values misalignment, according to her letter. He sets the folder down. No further comment, no gloating, just fact. I nod once. That's all it deserves. The internal press release pings on my phone. Morgan acquisition closed. Share price up 8%. In a different life, that would have been the headline of my year. Today, it's just one more proof of the structure I built quietly, piece by piece. The door opens again. The junior employee steps in now in a sharp blazer, her badge marked Lead Analyst. She hands me a project folder. Integration timeline. She says, then lowers her voice. And thank you for keeping me here. I accept the folder, the gratitude, the work ahead. Later, I'll file her email in the same digital folder where I keep an old family photo, the one where I was blurred at the edge of the frame, half hidden behind a floral arrangement. I keep it as evidence of where I started. Board members filter in, exchanging pleasantries, placing laptops and coffee cups on the table. An eager intern hovers beside me, pulling out a chair halfway down the side. If you'd like, I keep walking. Past the side seat, past the hesitation. I reach the head of the table, pull the chair back myself, and sit. I think I've earned this one. The meeting begins. Figures, forecasts, decisions. Ethan weighs in beside me. The junior analyst takes notes with the precision of someone who knows her work matters. There's no mention of Harper. No need. At a pause in discussion, I glance out at the skyline glass and steel catching the sun. They'll never see me the same way again. The quiet after the storm carried a weight of its own, not of defeat, but of balance restored. In a world where betrayal often hides behind polished smiles, the reckoning came not with noise, but with undeniable proof and steady resolve. When injustice is met with unwavering courage, the final verdict can echo through a lifetime. Power reclaimed does not need applause, it stands tall on its own. And sometimes the head of the table is simply where the truth has always belonged.